G'day battlers, and today we're going to be taking a look at Tinkaton in the Spring Cup because I went on quite a win streak with this particular team with a Jellicent lead, Tinkaton in the back, and sort of Amoonguss acting as the safe swap role. Now, Tinkaton has just been released into the game, and so a big question that is going around is what moveset should you run on Tinkaton? At first, I thought Bulldoze was the way to go. It is Tinkaton's cheapest move. It only takes 5 Fairy Winds to get there. It takes 6 to get to Heavy Slam, 7 to get to Play Rough, and so I did quite a few battles here in the Spring Cup with Bulldoze first, and it was just really underwhelming. It didn't do a lot of damage, even in super effective scenarios like against Galarian Weezing, it didn't do much. Whereas look at Heavy Slam, that does so much damage to the Galarian Weezing, and so I really do strongly suggest that Heavy Slam Play Rough is the way to go in the Spring Cup. Open Great League, maybe we can open the conversation back up to Bulldoze being useful, but at least here, I really do think that Heavy Slam is the way to go. Now, the way that this team tends to work, and this was actually a team suggested by one of my locals, Carter's son, also known as Sesh Ketchum, who's got the Jellicent in the lead as that sort of just, neutral Pokemon that is really quite decent into pretty much everything in the meta. Amoonguss is your safe swap, ability to really just hit so many things for good, strong damage, while also baiting out Pokemon like Firefang Mawile, for example, and then the Tinkaton as the closer in the back with the potential to do some heavy damage with that Heavy Slam, and also Play Rough doing quite a lot of work. And so let's take a little bit of a look at the battles here, take a look at how Tinkaton does, because I think it's a very interesting Pokemon, and it is so bulky. It's about as bulky as Lapras, so that should give you some idea. Now, we've got a Jellicent lead into the Galarian Weezing here, and they swap straight out into the Credilli, and this is one of Tinkaton's best spots to be, because Tinkaton just absorbs all of Credilli's matchups. Tinkaton has like one of the greatest resistance profiles in Pokemon Go, and so it just takes all of these hits. We've burned 1 shield with the first Heavy Slam that would have done a lot of damage because of that rock typing. We can tank these Rock Tombs on the chin, and we are getting quite low, but even after 2 Rock Tomb debuffs, Heavy Slam does a lot of damage, bringing that Credilli down to the red, and we actually get another Heavy Slam off here, sort of forcing that last shield. And so even though Tinkaton's going to go down here, we got a 2 shield advantage, which is absolutely massive. So shout out to Tinkaton. We swap in the Amoonguss, going to be able to get the full Astonish down here. I do decide to burn the Protect Shield here, just in case whatever is in the back is going to be quite weak to this Amoonguss. And so the Galarian Weezing is going to come out instead, obviously, which makes a lot of sense. And so we farm up to the Charge Attack and then swap into Jellicent. We actually see the Golisopod coming out here, so we can do some big neutral damage here with Shadow Ball. We can actually tank any Charge Attack from Golisopod onto the Jellicent, and so we can quite comfortably no-shield that one. Not quite get a full Hex down. You see I did click on Surf there at the end there, and it looks like we are going for it. Like, we decided to shield up, get the Surf down, go for an Undercharge, but like this is still going to KO, I'm pretty sure. But at this point, all of that Jellicent work in the back is going to be enough. And actually, we even get to the Shadow Ball here. They were really hoping to be able to farm us all the way down, but now we swap into the Amoonguss. Turns out they were going for the overheat, like overkill on the Jellicent, and we caught it. But luckily for us, we do survive. Amoonguss, a very tanky Pokemon. I do like the regular Amoonguss over the Shadow in some sense, but we take out the game, and there we're going to the next one with the Jellicent lead. Pretty decent lead into the Mantine. Obviously, we have that neutral Shadow Ball that does a lot of damage, and most Mantines don't really have a lot to throw back our way. And so we can see this one just throwing in the Aerial Ace. We're going to throw the Shadow Ball, pretty comfortable here. At this point, we're just going to stay in and wait for them to do something. We decide to throw a Surf just to weaken them down a bit. One of Jellicent's real strengths, and we actually saw this in the previous video I made on the Spring Cup, is that Jellicent with energy can really sort of propel a match forward for you. And so we see them swap out into the Lapras here, but as again, Jellicent with energy, we're able to throw a Shadow Ball onto the Lapras, take it down to below half health, and now we have a full health Amoonguss ready to come in. Obviously, we have to be a little bit wary of the Ice Beam, but this battle was a bit of a surprise, and it speaks to accessibility, I suppose, because they actually had to run Blizzard, which obviously will nuke so many Pokemon in this meta. I mean, can you imagine a Ferrothorn having to eat a Blizzard? But clearly, they just don't have an Elite TM, and so they swap into the Mantine. Tinkaton's going to come in just to soak up this damage quite comfortably, and at this point, it's pretty much a solid GG's. There isn't much they can do here, but they do still have a Pokemon in the back, but unfortunately for them, it is the Galarian Weezing, another one one of Tinkaton's really great matchups. Heavy Slam doing a lot of damage here. And again, take a look at the sims yourself, but Bulldoze really just is a little bit underwhelming. I know that Axon was talking about Bulldoze being the move to go for, but yeah, I gave it a run. I did pretty poorly with it, to be honest with you. And then as soon as I swapped over to Heavy Slam, we went on a really significant win streak here. And so, to, shield that up, swap into the Amoonguss. I even get greedy and I end up trying to go for the Astonish down. And so I lose all of that energy, but it's fine because Tinkaton can comfortably close this one out. But I definitely did my best to throw in this particular matchup, but that is absolutely a-okay. Into the next battle, we do have the Jellicent into the Jellicent mirror match, and this is actually a bit of a fun one. And so, in the first place, we're going to go straight for that Shadow Ball. This was charge attack priority, so we know that we win charge attack priority, which is a big piece of knowledge here. They shielded up our Shadow Ball, we're going to shield up their Shadow Ball, and then I'm actually going to go for the Surf on the next one, and I'm going to predict that they are also going to go for the Surf, because it feels like they need to find an advantage. When your opponent is not winning charge attack priority, they need to get ahead somehow, so I call the Surf after getting the shield off of them, put ourselves in a really nice spot, bank the energy, and then we both actually swap out into the grass type. They were, I guess, trying to catch the Shadow Ball onto their own Ferrothorn. I suppose they also were just banking the Shadow Ball for themselves, and so we both swap into our grass types at the same time. This isn't a bad spot for Amoonguss at all. We're actually in a pretty decent spot. Look how much damage we've done just with the Astonishes. Sludge Bomb just going to add on a little bit of extra cherry to the pie, and we're just going to take this move on the chin. It is the Flash Cannon, which does hurt, and then they actually swap out into the Abomasnow, and so really, this is just, it's not really an alignment game per se, because obviously we had the mirror match in the lead. We sort of had mirror match with the grasses, but in the back, we have a really strong answer to this Abomasnow. Look at that Heavy Slam damage. Again, we're just in a better spot without Bulldoze, I'll be honest with you, but the Weather Ball, not going to do much to us at all. Again, Tinkaton's strength is that it resists like half the typings of the game. I think it's actually more than half. Like, it's actually ridiculous with only 2 types that do super effective damage. Ground, so I guess Bulldoze uses Rise Up, and then also Fire. And there's not a lot of Fire in this meta, not a lot of Ground in this meta either. So, into the next game, we do have the Jellicent into the Gastrodon. Obviously, another, well, not obviously, but, it is another pretty decent matchup for us because we don't really care about any of their moves. Mud Slap, not too bad. Earth Power, it does hurt, and so we do have to sort of stay vigilant for that. But I decide that I'm just going to let this go. But they actually go for the Body Slam bait. So I was like, oh, this works out great. So we stay in, we decide that this one is going to be the Earth Power. They're not going to go for the Body Slam bait twice, and so now we can pretty comfortably go for the Shadow Ball here. Do get a shield out of the Gastrodon and then get another Shadow Ball, and we're already at the shield advantage here. The Gastrodon does take us out, but we can just come in with Astonish and take it out. They bring the Mantine in from the back, and I decided to swap into the Tinkaton here. They swap into Poliwrath, which is not a Pokemon you see very often, but look at this play off damage. Absolutely massive, huge one-hit KO. It's the Shadow Poliwrath, and even though like Tinkaton is a very bulky Pokemon, it's still able to do a lot of damage here, especially with the same type attack bonus. So you can see it takes Mantine down to below half health. Again, we can tank any move Mantine's got, and we're going to take this one out. By the way, if this is content you enjoy and you are appreciating it, you want to see more in the future, go ahead and subscribe. Why not? Helps out the channel, and of course, tells me that you want to see more videos just like this in the future. Now, we do have some losses in this video as well. I don't know if this is one of them, but I know there's definitely at least one coming up soon. But we've got the Jellicent into the Lapras, a pretty neutral scenario here. The Sparkling Arias alongside the Psywaves do actually start to add up, which is, a little bit annoying, but we get a Shadow Ball in. We can see this brings them down pretty low alongside the Hexes. So at this point, I decide to throw the Surf after getting up to the Shadow Ball, bring it down real low, and at this point, I'm going to bank that this is a Sparkling Aria. We can tank it, and we can actually get a Hex down, which is kind of big for us. So we do win the Zero Shield. They bring in the Amoonguss, which is actually great for us, because it means we can get this Shadow Ball, get either a damage advantage or a shield advantage, and then we can just bring in our own Amoonguss. We're in quite a strong position now. I think we actually no-shield this move as well, because we can tank the Sludge Bomb, and we actually still have the health advantage, which is kind of crazy. So now I go for the Grass Knot just to get the KO here. And we're really just setting up our Tinkaton to be quite strong in the back. I was a bit surprised that they shielded, and it made me think that maybe Amoonguss was strong in the back, so I decided to shield up, and it actually is the Cacturn, so we go for the Sludge Bomb here. I was going to undercharge to leave Tinkaton something to do, but we can just swap in Tinkaton. It's fine. We can shield up here. The Dynamic Punch, would do a decent chunk of damage. It actually do a lot of damage. Shadow Cacturn's kind of crazy, but look, we get the player off in, and it's a GG's from there. Fairy Wind down, Tinkaton cleaning up the game. Jellicent coming into the Galarian Wheezing. Again, not a great spot for us, but we see the swap into the Ferrothorn. And so we've been here before. We swap into the Amoonguss. So we're just going to be throwing those Sludge Bombs, trying to weaken this Ferrothorn down. Keep our Tinkaton ready to go to close the game in the back is our idea. Do eat a Flash Cannon, which again, we've seen this before, it kind of hurts. It is interesting as well that the Ferrothorn meta has really moved towards Flash Cannon. At the start of the meta, I didn't see any Flash Cannon Ferrothorns. Like when I was running that previous team, I never saw it. They were always running Power Whip Thunder, but yeah, look, it is Flash Cannon Ferrothorn meta guaranteed now. So we do see the Abomasnow come in and unfortunately gets a massive farm down on us, which is kind of rough. And so I decide like, look, let's go for the Jellicent, and I was going to go for a catch. I just, I was off a little bit. And so unfortunately, we weren't able to get the catch. The Jellicent goes all the way down to 1 HP. And now we just have Tinkaton. Tinkaton needs to save us here. The resistances are going to be huge. Taking all of these weather balls on the chin. We do have a fair bit of energy to throw, but the weather balls are really, really scary as they keep on adding up. Take out the Abomasnow, and it is actually the Galarian Wheezing in the back. 1 Heavy Slam will not be enough to KO, but alongside the Fairy Winds, maybe it could be enough. We need to try and make a catch onto our Jellicent, and I'll be honest here, I make a pretty big goof. In my head, I knew I need to make a catch so that I can get to the 3rd Heavy Slam, have a good time, win this. I don't actually know what just happened there. I think the VOD just skipped ahead some because now we're in a completely different battle where there's a Quagsire and a Ferrothorn. Sorry, I don't know what happened, but I can at least tell you what ended up happening in that battle. In that in my head, I convinced myself that, wait a minute, if I just stay in and I go up to the Heavy Slam and then swap out on the Heavy Slam, that's when they're going to get the move. But that wasn't the case at all. So that was just, I guess, poor timing on my part. But yeah. Not really sure what happened here, so I'm just going to skip to the next battle. Okay, back we are, and I know that this one is actually a pretty interesting battle. We've got the Jellicent into the Dugong. Neutralish matchup, pretty decent for us because obviously we're going to do big damage with our Shadow Ball, and they're likely to go for sort of Icy Wind strategies that aren't going to do much to us at all. And so I just No Shield, expecting the Icy Wind. It's exactly what it is, and so they actually then swap out into the Amoonguss. We're going to swap out into our own Amoonguss, and so there's his Shadow, ours is not. Obviously, we're going to be doing a lot of damage to each other with the Astonishers. They shield up that first Sludge Bomb, and they are just farming up a lot of energy. They've got a ton of energy ready to go. So we shield up the Grass Knot, which is a little unfortunate, but, it is what it is. And then go for the Sludge Bomb here. This would have been enough to take it real down low, so they decide to Protect Shield up. We decide to let ours go, because I'm like, actually, Jellicent can probably take this out with a Surf. They have no shields remaining, so we can pretty comfortably take this out, maybe get a bit of energy on our Thingo, but actually, because it wasn't enough to take it out, we swapped into Tinkaton, recognizing that our resistances are huge, hoping our energy was going to be useful, and here, Calamity strikes. Tentacruel in the back. This is Tinkaton's nightmare. Heavy Slam resisted, Player resisted. This is one of those rare spots where Bulldoze could actually be quite useful, but wait to see where this battle goes. Because they throw the Acid Spray onto our Tinkaton, and I'm kind of like, ooh, look, I had to call the Acid Spray, right? And so now I'm going for the Heavy Slam, bring it down a little bit, swap into our Jellicent, and again, my only win con is calling the Acid Spray. I call the Acid Spray and I'm like, okay, we're still in this. Dugong comes in. Because they didn't go for the big damage, we get the Shadow Ball in. We take down the Dugong. In comes the Tentacruel. We are quite weak, but we still have 1 shield in tow. And we get to the Heavy Slam. This will KO the Tentacruel. And somehow we pulled out this game. Tinkaton taking out Tentacruel. That really tells you the strength of Tinkaton, I suppose. But look, one more battle here. And again, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We do see the Greninja coming in as well, which is kind of like, I didn't know what to do. I was kind of like, ooh, look, Hydro Cannon does a lot of damage to us. Oh, you can actually see here, this is a Bulldoze battle. So I've actually grabbed this from the start of the stream somehow. I'm not sure how I've put this video together. It's well past my bedtime, but we got to do what we got to do. But we do get a Bulldoze off here, getting a shield. Again, one of the other benefits of Bulldoze is that it has a 50-50 chance of getting a debuff. So there's that, I suppose. And also the fact that it is quite quick means that when you get that bait potential, like we got against Greninja here, you do get to them a little bit spammier, which is quite nice. And so we actually get the full farm down. It does mean that they get to bring in the Cacturn, get a little bit of an advantage in here. And now I'm kind of like, ooh, this is not good for us at all. We need to get to a Sludge Bomb, but they do outpace us. This is absolutely going to KO. And then we just have a Jellicent up against that Cacturn. So yeah, this is the end of the battles. But again, shout out to Carter-san for putting these, I guess putting the team together on the spot. I just wanted a Tinkaton team. He spat one out and it ended up working really, really well. Again, really lovely win streak that really, gained us some elo. And if you try this team out, let us know in the comments down below how it went for you. But with that said, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, especially that subscribe one. And also, we actually got quite close. Shout out to my patrons and YouTube members as well for supporting the channel. Really appreciate them, keeping things afloat over here. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video, wherever that may be. And until then, a good luck in your battles and good luck hatching Tinkaton. It's in 7k eggs, so try your best. Bye.